Welcome back to CrimePod Castle, listeners, for another deep dive into the world of unsolved mysteries.
Episode 52
That's right, episode 52.
of our Unsolved Mystery series.
And today,
Arr.
we've got a case that's been haunting a community for almost 2 decades.
Yeah, the unsolved murder of Swarna Kamal.
It's a case with so many questions.
Very few answers.
Swarna Kamal was a beloved schoolteacher, a devoted single mother.
Found brutally murdered in her own home.
On October 12, 2004.
What's really baffling is there was no sign of forced entry.
Right.
Which makes it seem like she knew her attacker.
But the motive is a complete mystery.
It really is.
So today we're going to unpack the details of this chilling case, explore the various theories that have emerged over the years.
Look at the evidence, or the lack thereof.
Exactly.
And hopefully you, the listeners, can help us piece together this puzzle.
That's right. We're going to need your help on this one.
Yeah, to truly understand this mystery, it's crucial to first understand who Swarna Kamal was.
Yeah, she wasn't just a teacher. She was the heart of her community,
In city town name.
known for her intelligence.
And an unwavering dedication to her students.
I can only imagine the impact she had on the lives of so many young people.
Oh, absolutely. A mentor to many.
Sounds like she went above and beyond.
Absolutely. And on top of that, she was raising 2 children, then aged 10 and 14,
Wow.
as a single mother.
It speaks volumes about her strength.
Resilience.
It's heartbreaking to think that someone who brought so much light into the world could be taken from it in such a brutal way.
It really is.
Can you paint a picture for us what happened that night?
On the evening of October 12th, Swarna's children returned home from their after-school activities. Instead of being greeted by their mother's warm smile, they walked into a nightmare.
Oh my gosh.
They found their mother lifeless on the living room floor.
Oh, that's
surrounded by overturned furniture and signs of a violent struggle.
I can't even imagine.
It's a scene that would stay with anyone forever.
And the brutality of the attack itself adds another layer of horror to this story.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The autopsy revealed 8 stab wounds concentrated on her chest and abdomen. 8.
Wow.
The sheer force and precision of these wounds point to a very personal motive, perhaps fueled by rage or a desire for revenge.
That level of violence definitely suggests a strong emotional component.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just about silencing her. It was about causing pain.
Yeah,
Which makes the lack of a clear suspect even more perplexing.
it really does.
Who would want to harm Swarna Kamal so brutally, and why?
That's the million-dollar question that has baffled investigators for nearly 2 decades.
Yeah, I bet.
The initial stages of the investigation seemed very promising.
Okay.
The crime scene yielded a wealth of potential evidence. A bloody kitchen knife, fingerprints, even partial footprints.
You'd think with all that evidence they'd have a slam-dunk case.
You would.
So what went wrong?
Well, back in 2004, forensic technology wasn't as advanced as it is today. None of the fingerprints matched anyone in the database. And while they had blood samples, DNA analysis wasn't sophisticated enough to extract the kind of detailed profiles that could lead them to the killer.
So it's a case of technology failing to keep pace with the need for answers.
Yeah.
It must have been incredibly frustrating for investigators to have all that evidence and yet be unable to connect the dots.
Absolutely, it was.
So with forensic leads hitting a dead end, investigators shifted their focus to Swarna's personal life, hoping to uncover a motive.
Yeah.
One detail that immediately caught their attention was a property dispute she was involved in with a distant relative.
Right.
These kinds of disputes can often escalate.
Oh, for sure.
It's natural to wonder if this one turned deadly.
It certainly seemed promising at first.
Right?
Property disputes can be incredibly bitter. Sometimes those resentments boil over.
Yeah, it's like something out of a true crime novel, right?
It is.
A simmering family feud erupting in violence.
Exactly.
Was there any substance to that theory?
Well, in this case, the relative had a rock-solid alibi.
Oh, really?
And despite a thorough investigation, no evidence linked them to the crime.
That must have been a huge setback for the investigation.
It was.
They thought they had their motive, only to have it crumble before their eyes.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't the relative, who could it be? Did investigators explore any other potential suspects or motives?
They did.
Okay.
With the property dispute theory ruled out, they began to look at other aspects of Swarna's life,
Okay.
hoping to find someone who might have harbored a grudge against her.
Right.
The ferocity of the attack suggested a deep-seated anger,
Yeah.
perhaps someone she had a personal conflict with.
But wouldn't someone that angry be on the radar already?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah, wouldn't there be signs, whispers, something to point investigators in the right direction?
Sometimes the most dangerous individuals are the ones who fly under the radar. They're masters of disguise, concealing their true nature until the moment they strike.
That's a chilling thought. So while a personal grudge can't be ruled out, it seems like investigators were struggling to pin down a specific suspect.
Yeah.
Did they consider other possibilities, like robbery?
Of course, robbery is always a consideration in these types of cases.
Right.
However, the fact that nothing of value was missing from Swarna's home cast doubt on that theory.
Right.
And the sheer brutality of the attack seemed excessive for a typical robbery.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine a robber going to such lengths unless there was another motive at play.
That makes sense.
Right.
If the goal was simply to steal, why inflict so much violence?
Exactly.
It just doesn't add up.
No.
Were there any other theories that investigators explored? Anything a little more out of the box?
There was one theory that always gets people talking.
Okay, what's that?
The idea of a contract killing.
A hitman.
Yeah,
That sounds almost too calculated, too cold-blooded to be true.
it does.
What would lead investigators down that path?
Well, the precision of the attack, the focus on inflicting harm rather than simply silencing her, does have some hallmarks of a professional hit.
I see.
It suggests a level of detachment, a lack of emotional involvement that's often seen in contract killings.
But that raises even more questions.
It does.
Who would want Swarna dead bad enough to hire a hitman, and why? Was there anything in her life to suggest involvement in something dangerous, something that would warrant such extreme measures?
That's the biggest challenge of this theory.
Yeah.
Investigators explored every corner of Swarna's life, but there's no indication that she was involved in anything that would put her in the crosshairs of a professional killer. No shady business dealings, no connections to organized crime, nothing to explain why someone would want her dead.
So it's a tantalizing theory, but once again, we run into that wall of missing evidence.
I do.
We're left with a lot of speculation, but no concrete answers.
Right.
It seems like every path leads to a dead end.
Yeah.
No clear suspect, no solid motive, just a web of possibilities that leave us with more questions than answers.
That's the frustrating reality of cold cases like this.
Yeah.
We're left with fragments of information, tantalizing clues that never quite connect.
And for Swarna's family, her children, that lack of closure must be incredibly difficult to bear.
Absolutely. This isn't just an abstract puzzle to be solved.
Oh.
It's a real tragedy with real people whose lives have been irrevocably altered by this unsolved crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine the weight of grief and uncertainty that Swarna's loved ones have carried for all these years.
It is.
Her children, who were robbed of their mother at such a young age,
Right.
they're adults now navigating life with this unresolved trauma in their past.
And it's not just her family. Swarna was a beloved teacher,
Right.
a mentor to countless students, a pillar of her community.
Exactly.
Her absence is still felt deeply by those who knew her.
Yeah.
And the shadow of this unsolved crime continues to loom over the town.
It's a reminder that even in seemingly safe and close-knit communities,
Right.
darkness can lurk in the shadows.
Absolutely. Did investigators ever consider the possibility that this was just a random act of violence?
Yeah.
That the perpetrator was someone just passing through town?
Uh-huh.
Someone with no prior connection to Swarna?
They did explore that angle.
Okay.
Especially since none of the initial forensic evidence led to any known individuals.
Right.
The idea of a random act of violence, a stranger drifting into town,
Right.
and committing this horrific act, it's certainly a chilling thought.
It is.
But statistically, most violent crimes are committed by someone known to the victim.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
While the idea of stranger danger is frightening,
Right.
the reality is that violence often hits closer to home.
It does.
In Swarna's case, the lack of forced entry suggests a level of familiarity, someone she may have even welcomed into her home,
Right.
which makes the lack of a suspect even more perplexing.
Exactly. And that's what makes this case so frustrating.
Right.
We have a puzzle with many pieces, but no clear picture emerging. We have theories that seem plausible on the surface,
Yeah.
but lack that crucial evidence to solidify them.
So where do we go from here? Nearly 2 decades have passed.
I know.
Is there any hope for answers? In a case as cold as this?
There's always hope.
Okay.
As forensic technology continues to advance, there's potential for new breakthroughs. DNA analysis techniques are constantly evolving,
Okay.
becoming more sensitive, more capable of extracting valuable information from even the smallest samples.
I see.
It's possible that evidence collected back in 2004
Right.
could be re-examined using these cutting-edge techniques
Uh-huh.
and finally yield a DNA profile of the killer.
That's a glimmer of hope.
It is.
that I'm sure Swarna's loved ones are clinging to.
Yeah.
The idea that even after all this time, science might hold the key to unlocking the truth
Yeah.
and bringing some semblance of closure.
And beyond the science, there's
Yeah.
always the possibility that someone with crucial information might finally come forward. Perhaps a witness who was too afraid to speak up at the time,
Right.
or someone who's harbored a secret all these years
Mm-hmm.
and is now ready to share what they know.
Sometimes all it takes is one small detail,
Yeah,
one piece of the puzzle falling into place to crack a cold case wide open.
absolutely.
So to anyone listening who might have any information about Swarna Kamal's case,
Yeah.
no matter how insignificant it may seem,
Right.
please reach out to the authorities.
Do it.
You never know, your piece of information could be the missing link.
That's right.
That brings justice for Swarna and peace to her family and community.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the unsolved murder of Swarna Kamal.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
We know it's a heavy topic,
Yeah.
but it's important to keep these stories alive,
Yes.
not only for the victims,
Right.
but also in the hope that someone, somewhere, might hold the key to unlocking the truth. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to CrimePod Castle for more intriguing unsolved mysteries and true crime stories.
And be sure to follow us on social media.
And if you have any thoughts or theories about Swarna Kamal's case, we'd love to hear from you in the comments.
Absolutely.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and as always, stay safe.